Hello and welcome to Intertextual Experience, where we're back and excited for the City of Six Moons. Excited for the 46th episode of the show with the discoverer of the aforementioned City of Six Moons, designer of many more, video essayist, author, co-owner of Hollandspiele. I should probably wrap up the list at some point, but hopefully it's super obvious that I'm beyond excited to be here today with Amabel Holland. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, I didn't warn you that it was going to be like a paragraph, but hey, here we are.
Oh, I've had much worse. I was on a podcast and someone started. They found my LinkedIn from years ago and started reading my link. Like, no, please don't do that. It was all right, but
Well, hopefully this was both relevant, a little more recent, and covering some of the things that we'll talk about too.
okay.
But yeah, so I kind of did warn you. I didn't warn you about the mini paragraph intro, but I did warn you that the structure of the show is going to be a little chaotic. But before that, I just wanted to preface it that it's kind of going to be centered around your video essays, and I guess the working title, I'll even spoil that, of the episode in general is the episode of six video essays or something like that. I'm not sure if I
Oh, all right.
and so there are going to be like six chunks that are linked to six of the video essays. But as I think we'll kind of like get into as we talk about some of the videos or just random questions that may or may not actually be linked to the videos that are in the structure. Your video essays, in a sense, I think have like this flow or structure to them that has like evolved that really ties to topics that you previously touched on and everything like that, or dives deeper into something that you may have explored previously. But before I keep blathering about that, I just that's there's a lot of board game media out there, and I think there's a lot of good board game media. But when it comes to these video essays, they always jump to the top of my queue. It's like I don't know. I couldn't be like more excited when they're out there to kind of my favorite thing. So
Thank
uh,
you. It's very kind.
yeah, of course. Well, thanks for making them. I can't even imagine like the kind of like the work in the rabbit holes and everything that you're exploring. So yeah, before we kind of like dive into the game, I guess, do you kind of want to talk about the side of the hobby and I guess even, it's not just board games, but the things that you're exploring through your video essays and where they're kind of at now?
Sure. Yeah. So it definitely has evolved over time. Because the very first one I did was really just me talking to the camera. And then with some B-roll, and they're much more tightly and expressively edited these days, and longer. They got longer. Um, and part of that is, I've always thought a lot about games and trying to get my ideas about games out there. I had a blog on the Hollandspiele website for a long time where I had a lot of uh, philosophical essays about board game design and about moving outside of kind of the tightly wound um, common knowledge about game design. And it occurred to me that a video format could reach more people. I do come across people who are like, "Oh, I wish this was an essay," but they don't read it when it's an essay. I know that because I did that. Um, and I thought, well, this is a way to do it. And my partner introduced me to video essays, and I found I really liked the form because I've been a film nut my whole life, and I've enjoyed very different kinds of films, not just narrative films, not just regular documentaries, but things that are kind of weird mixes, things that are more akin to video essays, like Orson Welles' film F for Fake, for example, or some of the early work of Mark Rappaport, some of Godard's stuff in the 70s, and even into like later period Godard, um, where they are basically nonfiction films that create meaning through juxtaposition um, but that aren't documentaries in a cinema verite style, or even in the kind of very slick, yeah, that whole period of documentaries in the late '90s, early aughties, where things got very, very slick there for a moment, where you are making an argument or exploring a topic, and it's you doing it. There is a personal nature to it. So I've always liked those, and then my partner introduced me to like video essays as like a thing on YouTube and Nebula. Of course, we have a Nebula subscription, and I found I really enjoyed some of them, and I really enjoyed the format. And I thought, well, this is a way I can get more ideas out there because I believe really strongly in the capacity of games, of board games particularly, to move, to educate, to persuade. And I could only do so much by making the games because I make very niche kind of games that are for a very small audience. I wrote a book eventually, which is a little too expensive for people. So having free information, I think, I care about very deeply. And then I always wanted to make films. I made films. I made feature films back in my early 20s. Never got anywhere with them, but there was always that filmmaking itch, and I haven't scratched it in a long time. And this gave me an opportunity to do so. And that's part of why I've gotten a bit more ambitious with the level of my production and what I do with the videos. So they're basically two main kinds of videos I do. One of which is exploring where board games are in the present moment and what potential there is in the future for particular concepts in game design or publishing, how games create meaning, um, and then alongside that, there is a interest in the history of games. So it also tells us why games are the way they are. Um, and there's also like a kind of research focus to it because there's about 10,000 games published in the 20th century where we don't know who designed them. And I've been trying to get some of those games off that list. I find a game on BGG or one that's not even listed on BGG where we don't know who designed it. I try to find out who designed it. And it's very difficult because a lot of the information has not been preserved. A lot of people who made those games are dead. The companies that own or owed the rights to those games, if they still exist or if they've beholden to Hasbro, they don't care to preserve that information. So it's a bit of a struggle, but I've had some success through patent searches, through newspaper archives, and through some dumb luck finding the designers for about 80 games in the last like year and a half, and I'm very proud of that. So that's kind of like the work I'm doing presently, and then I do tie a lot of it to other art forms because I do feel that these forms all have things to teach each other and are all part of the culture and the human experience. Did that answer your question? This is what my answers would be like. I'm sorry.
No, there's no apology. No, that's perfect. Yeah, I think initially, I guess my connection to your videos was the fact that, I mean, I just like them, and I think they were exploring, like, I think, like ideas that people who, play games or enjoy other forms of art might be like thinking about, or but they then actually did the work to think about them and then present them. Like, oh, okay, like if I were
Okay.
to
Yeah.
actually if I were actually to, like, put in some work, like this is what it would feel like. And yeah, just kind of like brought to my mind a lot of, new thoughts and questions. And then also I hadn't really even thought a ton about the preservation or finding people who are uncredited. And like you mentioned, you have like a good few videos now, starting with the uncredited one
Mhm.
that. explore that in, and then even other ones that don't necessarily explicitly explore that might touch on some of those games as well too. So
Yeah. Well, one reason is that most videos I work on tend to suggest the next video. You know, because I did uncredited, and I was doing which was a video which is about particular designer, but also generally about like crossword dice games. I made a crossword dice game of my own, Cross Four, um, and I had an idea to do like a video, a promotional video. I do a lot more promotional videos on my channel, and I haven't in a long time, really. Um, so I don't know how much they actually move the needle. The ones where they do the ones where I get a lot of views for that video are already games like City of Six Moons where the needle's already been moved. Um, but I was thinking about doing a promotional video for Cross 4 that'd be in the form of like a 1970s advertisement. So I started watching a lot of 70s ads for toys and games, and through that came across a bunch of ads for the Skittle games that Donna Adams was in. So my next video, eventually, like the research project I was working on at that time, was a video about the Skittle games, and that gave me information about how board games were being well, two things. That got me thinking about boxes for games, how games are advertised and marketed, which led to my boxes video. But it led to me realizing that a lot of board game companies in the 70s were owned by cereal companies. And that helped me find the designer for a game Kenner had published because it was the patent was assigned was well, it wasn't, but it got me searching for it again. Anyway, and that's how I found Renee Soriano, and I actually was able to talk to a designer who was at the time 95 years old. Um, and then researching that, which led to lots of about Parker Brothers and their time in video games, led to me doing a video about the Pitfall series, which is um like the second or third most popular video on my I was really surprised by that because when I try to talk about things that aren't board games in the past, people don't show up. They don't show up for stuff about film, and they haven't shown up for stuff about video games previously. But in this particular case, they did for whatever. I can't predict the algorithm, and I'm not doing it for numbers anyway. Because if I did, I wouldn't be doing what I was doing. I was talking about this with I had a conversation with Efka from No Pun Included, and he's like, you know, he likes to do the kind of more incisive essays, but it's the reviews of the hot games that move the needle. And yeah, I don't do reviews, and I don't do the other big thing I see in like board game YouTube media, especially besides reviews, are like design tips that are 5, 10, 15 minutes long and are like a numbered list. And those are usually good tips for making games look like other people's games. And publishers are more likely looking for that if you want to be successful in that way. If you want to do anything different, I don't know how much information it really gives you. So I know there's a limited audience for what I do to a degree, and I'm mostly doing it, to entertain myself. I want to get my ideas out there, but I also know that they're kind of niche ideas, and like I'm not getting any advertising income from YouTube for the videos. I only get like the Patreon money, which I basically funnel into doing more research.
yeah, and buying the different products and games and hard to find things that
Well,
wind up
that's part
being
of the research. That's part of the research,
yeah,
right? We
that
need to
yeah.
actually. A lot of people, if you talk about old games, because a lot of old games are junk. A lot of old games are not very good as games, as products, as ludic experiences. They don't hold up. but you need to actually engage with the thing, especially because I have such a focus in the research videos on games of the 60s and 70s where you had a lot more of the kind of plastic three-dimensional games. Engaging with it as a physical object, as a beautiful thing made or an ugly thing made, is an important part of the process and an important part to understand, like why it didn't last. I mean, I could have done that Skittle video research wise without getting any of the Skittle games, but I think actually getting hands on them, seeing how janky they were, how badly they played, really emphasized the degree to which they were not functional and that people did not enjoy playing them. And that's why, even though they sold well initially because of the very aggressive advertising, people wised up. And that's like part of the story. And I wouldn't be able to tell that part of the story if I hadn't actually gotten hold of the stuff. Do I regret some of that? I mean, sure. The Skittle Tac-Toe game completely does not work. Like it is the one that the most does not work. And that one cost $150. That was very hard to find. Thanks to my patrons, because I would not, without the support of my Patreon producers, I would not be able to justify tracking down an old game like Skittle Tac-Toe that I knew was going to be junk going in to find out how junk it is. Unfortunately, like I have this, my office here is getting increasingly crowded because I still have all these junky games, and I can't sell them. First of all, no one except someone who's doing a research video about them is going to want to buy them. And secondly, I wouldn't want to do that to other people. That feels cruel.
Uh, and those all those games they're pretty big boxes, correct?
Yeah, no, they are huge. They are. I don't have any games like some boxes are deeper. Like we have a copy upstairs of Septima, which is a really beautiful game. And it's a very big box, but it's not as wide as these Skittle games, or as
Yeah.
heavy, or as prone to breaking. But it I don't know. I enjoy doing the research and I enjoy trying to find out who designed the things and preserve the information because otherwise it won't be preserved. We won't know. I'm working on a project right now, research project right now, and the designer did like depending on how you count them between 5 and 8 games in the 70s, and one of those games that she did is a game called Fire One, 5 Feet of Fun, and the only internet result for it was her own webpage.
Hmm.
But this game was released. This game was a bestseller for its company, which was CBS when they were doing toys and games in the 70s. It had a commercial, which I cannot find. And I managed to find a total of 2 copies online. And I had to search real hard to try to find them. And I have one of them on its way to me now. But that game is almost like completely lost. And that's something that, is like 50 years ago. And if that information isn't preserved, I mean, maybe we don't lose much if we don't know about Fire One in the future, right? But I don't know. I feel it's worth preserving. I feel I have some friends who work in preservation of other kinds of media, and one that made the argument that every piece of media deserves to be preserved and have information about it preserved. And I don't know 100% if I'm on board with that, but I am on board with it's not my decision to make, right? So I'm trying to preserve what I can for whoever finds it interesting in the future. And then this particular designer that I'm researching this new project is, as far as I can tell, the first trans woman to work in board games. And this is in the early 70s. Um, and maybe this one earlier I haven't found yet. I don't know. But I think for me as a trans woman, I definitely want to preserve pieces of trans history and show that, we did not just pop into existence a few years ago on Tumblr. Uh, and anything I can do to be part of that, I'm going to do. And in part of researching this project, I was given by her son her autobiography, which was never published. And the thing about reading something someone is writing, particularly about their life, is that even though that person is dead and has been dead for years now, there is an act of communication between you and them, and that's very enriching to me. And so, even just for myself, doing this kind of research is very fulfilling. It makes me a better, smarter, more empathetic person, and I would like to be that.
Yeah, well, I don't have a good follow-up to that because that's much more beautiful or elegant than what I could put it. But no, I really appreciate all that work that you are doing, and like I mean, you kind of just said at the end there that helps kind of build, your relationship with the different authors and creators that you are, researching and working with. But then you are doing that. You are preserving these moments of histories and then sharing it with plenty of people who probably had no idea. If there was a super popular game from the 70s and it was a bestseller for its company, and then today, you said only 50 years later, we couple copies that are fine. That's a weird disconnect in the
Mhm.
idea of creation and preservation. Like it just doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense. So I think your ability to like research it and contextualize it is obviously important. And yeah, I'm excited to check that one out then.
Thank you. And I don't encounter that very often because usually there's more traces of a thing. Like I couldn't find anything in newspapers, newspaper advertisements for that particular game. And that's very unusual, especially for a game from a pretty large company. This is a thing. I had a game come out in June, called Swords Against, which is a complicated thing to explain, but it's presented as like a lost game that I found, and I was really taken aback by people who assumed it was really a lost game that I found, because to me, even though I'm very po-faced about it in the presentation, I feel like you have to be in order to get emotional resonance out of it. Um, it's very obvious because generally you don't have commercially released games from that period that no one's ever heard of or there's no trace of. Um, and this, so it was really kind of startling to come across this game Fire One that uh is that obscure, is almost not remembered by anyone in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's um oh, sorry, I think I'm on like a wrong thing. But yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, that I mean, I'm assuming that the video will maybe find the breadcrumbs or the trails and have some explanation as why, but it does almost feel a little, inexplicable nonetheless. So,
Yeah.
well, so okay, so you talked a little bit about Swords Against Beginner's Box 1979 replica edition,
Hmm.
and in an earlier bit you mentioned Cross 4 as well. So we've already been talking for a minute, and I have. I have like a means to generate some more questions, and
Okay.
they're
Oh dear.
it's okay. It's a lot, and honestly, it's funny because, well, I don't know. The number of questions I have here, I mean, they're linked to six different videos, as I mentioned before.
Mhm.
They're And just because the way I created it, and I kind of wanted to like have it be in the flow of maybe some of the things that you'd already talked about, and I think there winds up being maybe some inherent crossover, so on and so forth. And I don't know, some of the things are like actual questions, some are words, but I have a lot of different thoughts out here. So we'll start by this though. I will share a screen with you.
Okay.
I have like a dual screen rocking right now, and I feel like I need four. Um, okay. Do you, is
Okay.
that being shared with you now?
Yes.
It's it's something. I will actually then I have a another oh my gosh, another Google Doc, and I will share that with you in chat. Okay. Uh,
Okay.
so we're
There is chat in there
there
is
is
chat.
chat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I am not very Zoom. Okay. All right. Let me
Yeah.
move this over to
Yeah.
my other window.
Okay. Well, let's put it this way. I well, I do these things, and first off, do you want to describe the shared screen, the Google Sheet? Like, what are we looking at?
So there appears to be a grid that is 7 by 7
Hmm.
with a diagonal that is shaded yellow, three in and yellow three out, with the center square being pink. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming this is one of those fancy Sudokus. Um,
I'm not that smart. I can't create that. This is just going to be a means for you creating words with dice from your game for
oh,
crossword.
okay.
Yeah, that's it. And then yeah, it's 100% audio only podcast, and I've been increasingly creating more visual nonsense. But I can share this stuff in the show notes, and that always makes it fun too. But then I also shared with you a document that's reference image.
Yeah.
We don't have to go everything there quite yet, but there are the titles of six of your video essays, and then a set of four images for
You
each.
sure are.
Okay, so we'll start it up though, and um, I will roll your dice, and there
Okay.
are seven of them.
Yeah.
And let's put them. I'll just type in the letters. So we got E. Oh, that's weird. F R Y T B L N. Okay, so that's the first roll, and basically what you do is going to wind up generating the first question in a way. So
Um.
looking at those letters, what's the word you want to make? What speaks to you?
Oh. I, what did I sign up for? Belfry.
Belfry. Okay. B-L-F-R. Okay. So that's going to be our first word, and then moving forward, we can use
Okay.
that word for other words. Is that okay?
All right.
I mean, it's your game. I mean, this isn't your game. This is my game, but you're the
Yeah.
player. It's a solo game. I guess I'm like slightly DMing this, GMing this. Okay, so let's take a look at that. That one, I have a key as to like
Oh, okay.
what it's going to be for us. So, okay, we are going to be on the video essay, should board games be frustrating? So over in
Okay.
the board should board games be frustrating section, there are four images. Which one of those images is speaking to you the most right now?
Uh, uh, yes, it's hard to avoid the gaze of the man in the cauldron from Getting Over Bennett Foddy. So I guess that's my choice.
Okay, yeah. Well, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes they do just speak to you in this way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, I'll give one quick preface to this. It's not linked to the question at all, but the number of, and I actually haven't played Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy yet, but I have also in that image. I started playing Baby Steps relatively recently.
I've heard good things about that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming there's a decent amount of overlap in it, and I'm probably like 3 hours in, but I play like 10 different video games at once because I'm kind of like that for some reason. But the number of video games that your video essays have introduced me to that I've like automatically like purchased or wish listed and have added to my to playlist is it's a very high number. So,
Okay.
but yeah. So getting over it with Bennett Body. So the that was linked to the should board games be frustrating video, and that one's a little bit older now for a video.
This is my
So
second one. Yeah.
yeah. So some of the questions are kind of in conversation or like revisiting topics in a sense, and this is one of those thoughts or questions. But what's a recent video game that has kind of made you think about the concept of, difficulty or frustration?
Recent as in recently released or recent as in I recently played.
Let's do recently played.
Um, so on my partner's channel, my partner Samhain, who is a video game YouTuber for a living, um, she has me play games sometimes. We've been exploring a lot of early immersive sim games and the crossover with RPGs, and she had me play Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and it did get me thinking a lot about difficulty in games because that game is too hard. Mostly because it wasn't finished. Like it got shoved out the door long before it was ready, and uh, I got increasingly frustrated playing that game. It's very clunky in ways, and I don't necessarily deal with frustration very well. There is another video I've done, which is one of the kind of shorter in between kind of things about me trying to play a very frustrating video game and how it I get really overwhelmed by it, and it's kind of there's a lot of shame tied up with it. Not because I feel like I need to be good at video games, but because when something that I think I can do or should be able to do, not doing it, it makes me feel dumb. I don't like feeling that way. I think about difficulty a lot because there are ways in which it can be useful, and ways in which it's not. You know, is often used in video games, especially to gate access to content. There was a whole nother, I don't know if it's on your list here. There's a whole nother video I did about that.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like that's a relic of arcade game design. It's where a lot of video game design comes from to a degree. And then this is something that I touch on a lot in the videos about board games. Like, why are board games the way they are? Why is the industry the way it is? Well, a lot of it is because of the commercial factors of making games in the 20th century when it is a mass produced object created by a toy company. Um, and so we have all of these kind of ingrained practices of game design and publishing based on those considerations. And you wonder what would it be like without that. Like, what would video games be like if they arose outside of the bounds of capitalism, um especially like late stage capitalism? Um, and so I think about difficulty in terms of like is a thing we're still doing even though there are no quarters to eat. Um, but also it can be useful to be frustrated, to have something that is hard, partially to overcome it, but partially for the experience of practicing that kind of negative emotion of encountering difficulty. Um, and often my own board games are not easy in terms of they can be very clumsy to operate, to create a position for yourself within the game space, to get things to happen the way you want them to. There's a lot of friction, and that friction can be very useful. But you have to be doing it for something. And I think if you just make something hard just to be hard, I'm less likely to be there. And then in the case of something like Vampire, the thing is hard because they didn't finish the game and they need to pad it out. And um, so that's my thoughts about that. Now another game I played recently that played a lot more joyfully, video game wise, are the Hitman games that IO Interactive has released, and those games can be quite hard. The game never feels like it's against you. It is very much a you can do this, and you can learn to do it through gradually understanding the space and your options. And it gives you a lot of agency within that, and that difficulty gives that agency context that makes it really exhilarating. I think the difficulty tuning of that game actually is quite good, because it never feels like it's trying to punish you. It's always on your side, and it's just there's a lot of complexity to master, and it gives you tools to gradually master that complexity, and it's incentives to do so as well. There's a whole system. Are you familiar with the games?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I played like a couple of the missions of one of the more recent ones. I don't know, but yeah, I know the games.
yeah. So with the newer trilogy of games where you basically can replay like a mission over and over again, gaining mastery points for doing different challenges within the world that then teaches you about the world and teaches you about the game on a systemic level. And I think that's a really useful use, really useful use, God, of difficulty to create a kind of meaning and to empower the players. That's the thing that video games are more interested in, I think, than board games generally. The board games do like you like to feel powerful in a board game. You do like to get better at a thing and to like, oh, my this lets me do that, and because I did this on this turn, I get to cash in this thing. It's a good feeling, and games don't need to always be good feelings. This is something that video is explicitly about. But you need to think about why you're making people feel bad. Like for what purpose?
Random follow-up question. So you
Mhm.
mentioned the Vampire the Masquerade exploration kind of
Mhm.
within the context of yours and Samhain's uh, kind of exploration into sims, immersive
Mhm.
sims. Is the so I okay. I mean, I know the tag. I've wound up buying a bunch of games with the tag
Well, the tag doesn't
because
always mean what it is.
well, not yeah, but things that I've like researched a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe the
Okay.
tag, but I guess as a non-expert in that genre, is would you say Hitman? Those games, are they working within that
Oh yeah.
framework? Okay.
I think Hitman is the best immersive sim. Now, this is someone coming from someone though who also is not an expert. Like I was first introduced to them through SAO and through the Thief games, which are very dialed down. They don't have a lot of the RPG elements at all. Um, and so for me, when I came into playing Vampire, where the RPG elements are a bit more on the heavy side, so I don't think they're implemented all that well. Um, it was a bit of a an adjustment. Uh, I feel the kind of fantasy of a simulated world where you have a number of options and opportunities to be expressive within that space, uh, I think has this like fullest expression for me in those Hitman games. Um, Compared to the other ones I played. But I am very like I've seen Prey played a little bit, which is quite good. Um, and we're on her channel. We're playing through Deus Ex, which is uh regarded as like a masterpiece. And I don't know yet. I'm still I'm still a few hours. This is the thing about video games. They take too long. Like I'm like 10 hours into Deus Ex, and I just scratched the surface of it. And for me, that's why is it taking so long? A board game, if I've been playing for 10 hours, I played it like 6 times.
Yep.
Unless it's an 18xx, in case maybe I played it twice.
Oh yeah, one of the icon on my um, computer is Deus Ex Summer, or at least I'm saying that. I'm not sure if I see it. Did I
Hmm.
delete it? Did I was stop playing that one? Who knows? But yeah, no, that's kind of what I've heard as yeah, one of the masterpieces or in the genre, and I don't know, just picking up stuff, hitting stuff, running around and trying to hack, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some agency within it. You can be more stealthy, more attacky. I think one problem with the genre is you do have this kind of dichotomy of be violent or not be violent, and like you can have a wider range of things there. I would really love a game. Maybe this already exists. I should ask Samhain, but I'd really love a game that's more akin to like this is gonna be a weird tangent, but one of my favorite films is the film Mon Uncle, directed by Jacques Tati, and it is kind of a slapstick comedy. It's a very visual comedy. It's a very like no dialogue gag based comedy, but they're often very gentle gags, and it's kind of like interacting with this world that is uh this world that um there's a scene where he adjusts the window pane to catch a reflection so that a bird thinks it's always daylight, so it's always singing. And that kind of little interaction, like I would love to have a game in which you're interacting with the world in that way. You're observing it, you are able to exert agency over it, but it's not necessarily about sneaking around or stealing things or killing things, but about like just what you can do within this simulated world. Um, and I don't know. I feel like there's more room in the space. And I think part of it is when we think of immersive sim. When I think of it, I think of like a small group of games made by a lot of people who overlap, and then a bunch of stuff that's tagged it on Steam that has nothing to do with it. Um, and I would like to see more variance in that space. One thing about these games, though, is that generally they don't sell well a lot of the time. They're not very popular games. Um, yeah, did that answer your? I'm always afraid I'm not answering your question when I go on for 20 minutes.
Oh
Ah,
no. I when anybody says anything like that's the point. This first off is a podcast that could be about anything, and it
mhm.
is about, well, in this instance, six video essays that are touching on a whole bunch of different things and their cross connections to other texts and mediums. So yeah, there couldn't be
Okay,
a better answer.
all right.
In that process, though,
Mhm.
I flattened out your belfry on our little grid.
Okay, yeah.
I was thinking about I didn't want to break the game like Vampire the Masquerade. I want to make this playable for you. So I will, and then we'll just for the sake of it, we'll move number two down here. Why my arbitrary rules? I'm going to roll the dice again.
Okay.
The letters you have are R, E, P, A, B, a lot of vowels, O and U. Belfry exists, just like your cross four game and other word games. You can use any one of those letters
Hmm.
in it as well.
All right. Ah.
And it can, okay, sorry, because this is a flexible game, your word can extend from the 7 by 7 grid, but there could be consequences. That's my word.
Okay. Uh, Pear. Pare.
Hmm.
And I would like it possibly running parallel to Belfry, so we get ba and and lay.
Oh, okay. So,
So the P
so
starting, yeah,
P here.
yeah. This is how I do cross. This when I play Scrabble. This is what I love to do. Is like you get extra points. Not in my game, but I don't know how it works in your game either. So I'll take it.
I mean, I don't know how it works in my game either. Um,
Good sign. Good sign.
okay, perfect, perfect. That is good though. And ooh, that actually, the way that it does run parallel is affecting my score here. So let's see, we got okay, perfect. All settled. We are on to boxes, selling, framing, meaning. There are
Okay.
four images within that. Which one are we looking at?
So I'm the thing I don't understand is purpose are the oh those are Skittles, not
Yeah,
M&Ms.
those are Skittles.
Okay. Uh the thing about Skittles, so I'm looking at these. Here's the thing about Skittles is that there's a correct way to eat Skittles.
Okay.
Uh you eat the purple ones first because they're the worst. They're fine, but they're the worst. Then red, then orange, then green, then yellow, or yellow, then green. It depends if you're feeling more lemon or more lime. I love lemon. I love lime. That's how you eat Skittles. My partner makes fun of me for picking them out, but that is how you do it. So I'm gonna say the Skittles leap. If I mean ask what leaps out, the Skittles leap out to me. I guess.
Okay. Cool. Well, for the Skittles one and okay, so the number of here's another thing. So the number of times I've watched all your video essays, especially because I've been thinking about chatting for some time now, and I usually just rewatch the videos anyway, and then I've been rewatching them. You do have a little bit, or there's at least a video clip that references your Skittles video in the boxes selling, framing, and meeting, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. Okay. So that's why I did include it here. But this one is technically probably if I had a full set of questions linked to the Skittles video, it'd be about that. But this one is we already talked about the Skittle games a little bit and how a lot of them are broken. But when you were exploring that video in particular and playing these games, was there anything that was kind of like in your mind as a designer thinking like if I were to make a Skittle game, it would be this?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I because I've been more and more obsessed with games as physical objects and the physicality of games creating meaning. And this is one of the very few areas where the method by which I publish games, which basically I make zines that are in boxes, you know, where I bump up against that because I cannot do like a dexterity game, a toy game. Uh, but I have been thinking for a long time if I did, I'd want to do like a miniature golf game, like a putt putt game. Just too many pieces. I can't do it, you know. But yeah, it'd be like Skittle golf would be the thing I would do. That'd be the one. Well, there's another dexterity game that I have finished. I have a finished dexterity game that I could publish, but I think I would get arrested in the current political environment.
Oh no. A
It's
lot more
called
on
Ripple
the
Up the Czar, and it's about the terrorist bombing campaigns in Russia in the 19th century. And um, I'm just gonna wait a while, see how things shake out before I make any games about terrorist bombing campaigns. But yeah, doing a skittle golf thing would be like really exciting to me. You know, and I'm looking at this the four images you have in the grid, and you also have the Rodney Dangerfield game No Respect, which also appears in a later video. Because at the time when I did this video, I did not know who designed it. And then later researching my Rene Soriano video, which crossed over with some research about Howard Wexler, I found out that he designed it and then mentioned it in that particular video. Um, and there is a way in which my videos are all in conversation with each other, sequels to each other in a way. And I kind of hope that people have been following along. A lot of them haven't. That's okay. There's a running gag in the videos, which amuses me and my partner and no one else, where I describe something as being Riddler money.
Mhm.
And it has a very specific, like, there's a video where it makes sense. And then I just keep using it. Uh, and I don't know, it gives to the texture, I guess. I don't know. I have to entertain myself. I have to be my own best audience. But yeah, I would love to do something that is a bit more three-dimensional. There's a game I'm working on, which is kind of a 4X sort of game. It's a weird take on it. Um, but it does involve having a wheel that turns. And boy, that's gonna be expensive to figure out. But that wheel's gonna be like a crucial part of like the gameplay experience, right? And I really want to get more physicality into my games if I can, while keeping them reasonably priced so people will buy them. Because I do print on demand, a lot of my things would be too expensive if I price them the way other people price them. Most publishers, the rule of thumb is they charge like 5 times the production cost. And if I did that, most of my games would cost over $100. It just it isn't feasible. And something I really enjoyed about doing Swords Against is getting some physicality in there with some of the objects in there, and really trying to get the meaning out of the physical objects, the physical. There's a couple things with the adventure module book in particular that are very tied up with it being a physical book with physical pages. I guess I can't say more than that without spoiling. I guess people care about spoilers. I don't know. I've never cared about spoilers. When I go to see a movie, most of the time, I read the plot beforehand. People think I'm weird for that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's my answer to that question. I'm not sure.
No, that's good. No, yeah. So, well, kind of touching at something that you mentioned earlier, like when you went
Hmm.
back to the no respect thing, and I appreciate all the connections or through lines or the conversations that the videos are having with each other, and I I've definitely I've definitely noticed the inclusion of Riddler money in other videos after the one that like actually had the scene, right? It was like
Yeah.
a show, okay, showed a clip. So that's good. And yeah, keep doing that. But do you want to, as we're here, and we play by whatever rules that the game has added, I'm just going to give you the Rodney Dangerfield question too, because
Okay.
it's kind of similar.
All right.
In the Skittle game, you talked about having that being like a more of like a kind of like a mini golf, like a putt putt type of thing. If you were going to retroactively put a celebrity's face on one of your games, whose face would it be and what game?
Oh God, what a strange and lovely question. What would be the funniest one? Yeah, that's really the thing. Like, what would be the funniest one that I could get away with? I
Yeah.
guess. Um, Gosh, I really don't. I feel like it would have to be one of the more playful games and not like a serious message game, right? So something more like a cross four or an islet.
Hmm.
Um, and part
Okay.
of the problem is that they're always very incongruous. Like Rodney Dangerfield, like has nothing to do with the game itself. Um, Don Adams really doesn't have anything to do with the Skittle games.
Hmm.
Who's that? You know what? I like the actress Barbara Harris, one of my favorite actors of all time. She's going on the box of Islet. I don't know why. That's what I'm gonna say. New
Perfect.
edition of Islet, Barbara Harris on the box.
I was gonna say that one, yeah, that one's out of print. So if you ever start, and I know that was obviously due to the physical constraints and
Yeah, I was really
pricing.
I was really happy to have like I was really excited for that and like some people bought it, some people enjoyed it, but once we couldn't produce the wood anymore of that would work with the game affordably, just I had to take it out and it sucks. It sucks to take it out of circulation because it was something I thought was very playful and felt more like a folk object and I do have like a attraction to that, a pull to that.
Well, now the 2E version of it is ready whenever
Yeah.
whenever you're ready to bring
Yeah,
it.
you get Barbara Harris on the cover. All right.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, that's good. We have talked about some of the random questions linked to boxing, framing, and meaning. Get rid of the old letters. Ooh, um, I'll do an asterisk for the star that popped up, the wild letter I, M, and M's can be W's, right?
Yep.
Okay, good, good. D, 4, 5, 6,
I
7.
asterisk IMDCPS. Wow. Okay. Yeah, yeah. The M's can be W's in cross four, and the Z's are N's. And I thought that was I felt really clever when I came up with that. It's a real nice way to get around the limitations of only having 7 dice.
Yeah, no, that works really well.
Um,
I played CrossFort a good amount. I just solo it and keep playing and do really poorly at it. So it's great.
well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's really lovely. Um, I'm gonna do ID, and I want to make pie and bad as a result.
Oh, that okay. Let's do this because that's not even chartable by me. That's a combo breaker. Let's go to the reference sheet here, and we'll move one into the spot. What you get to pick a number. I mean, you can pick one that we've done already, a video that we've talked about in some capacity, or have had some nonsensical question tied to it.
Uh, or I pick any video, or does it have to be one of those?
I mean, I guess for the sake of the questions I have, it would be one of these six. But if you want to talk about something else, I can come up
Okay,
with a
no,
question.
no, no. That's let's do number one. Not number. Let's do the very first one you have, the first box you have.
Okay, cool. That is good. So number one is replay value, repetition, ritual, and improvement. So of for image, which even within the images, there's some crossover. Is there anything that you want to pick?
So the thing I'm gonna pick because I'm curious about is inclusion. is Caves of Cud. You have the image of Caves of Cud.
Okay. So that
They
one is
don't talk about
probably
it in the video.
you do not talk about it in the video, but in that video you have roguelites slash roguelites in there.
Hmm.
And then I recently saw you make a post about Caves of Cud.
Hmm.
So that was kind of the it was just like
Okay,
a
got it.
more and then interestingly when I so that's another game that I haven't really like uh been able to dive into because it I opened up that game and I was like this game is way too smart for me or my brain is just not going to be able to handle what's
So you know
going
what will help with that?
what
On the YouTube channel for the publisher, they
okay
have tutorial video that my partner Salwin made, was hired to make for them.
wow
And that will get you started.
okay well that's perfect I will do that because I opened up the game and I think I mean it gives you a little bit like in-game tutorializing or whatever and I was just like okay but I'll
It's a
watch that
complicated game. You just gotta get lost in it,
okay
is the thing, and be okay with being lost in it. Or be okay with, okay, my thing, I got killed by a jellyfish or I fell down the stairs or whatever.
yeah I'm good with that like I don't I think I think I just needed to more have like the time and space to get lost in a game like that more than anything.
Yeah,
I think
that can
it's
be challenging. They have that.
yeah, well cool. Well, I'll definitely check out that video. So I'm gonna actually put that in my little box to look at the tutorial video. But so yeah, that one this one's just more of a random question because in that one and we can tie it to the idea of like the video as well, which I mean I won't summarize the whole video. If anybody hasn't watched the video, go check it out. But when you kind of talk about the structure of roguelites or roguelites as within that conversation of like replay, this question is basically like, what's like a recent roguelite that you have been playing or been thinking about, and and even potentially how you like furthering the thought of that genre working well with replay. So I mean, like one of my most played games is Hades, the first one,
Mhm.
and I bought the second one, and again, right now well, from Supergiant, I've been playing Pyre, so that's one of my
Oh,
games
Pyre! I love Pyre so much.
that's been heavily in my rotation as of late, as I'm trying to just finish it now at this
I
point.
mean, I think Pyre is hugely the best thing they've done. I like Hades a lot, but uh, Pyre is absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean,
Rogue lights or rogue likes that I played a lot, that I played recently. Not as much. I did play some Caves of Cud for Samhain's channel. I was playing. I'm just looking at my desktop right
mm,
now. Um, yeah, what have I been playing? Mostly these days I just been playing. You know what? I've been playing some Noida. Noida's a fun time. Uh, and that's certainly like a rogue light that has those rogue like elements of the permadeath of the world being simulated. The thing about Noida is that every pixel has properties. It has is a material that interacts with other materials in a certain way, and it can catch fire. It can get wet. There's a lot of alchemy and whatnot involved in it, and it's uh, such a huge game with so many overlapping mysteries. And the thing is that I don't really have the discipline to really plumb those depths. So I just get in the game, I fuck around a little bit, I get killed, and then I do something else. I really admire that my partner has the focus and discipline to give herself to a game and give it that attention and time. And as someone who, because I make board games, I'm usually making things to be engaged with in a single sitting. right? And I'm been doing some things that require more of you. City of Six Moons, I think, requires a little more of you. Swords Against requires more of you. And I know it's a big ask. And I feel a little hypocritical because I often do not feel like I want to give that to other things as often. But mostly it's just, managing my time. Um, but yeah, no. Like I'm really impressed by Noida. I'm impressed by a lot of roguelikes generally by the level of complexity and the level of interactions and the kind of simulated world cause and effect of it all. In fact, one thing I probably enjoy more than playing most roguelikes is like reading the wiki for a
Hmm.
roguelike. And I'm pretty much against like the wikification of culture and like fandom culture pretty strongly. But there is it's like I will read these entries about these items and these characters and these interactions. There was a time when I did this is years ago. I made a wiki for a roguelike, like a traditional NetHack style roguelike that did not exist about going through the bottom of a dungeon to kill God with a hammer. And I loved doing that. I loved creating kind of like a paratext with hyperlinks and all that. And that's a format I think potentially has a lot of juice for like creating narrative, creating resonance. Um, it's more interesting to me than necessarily playing one of those games myself. That also just has to do with the amount of time I have to devote to a thing, you know,
Hmm.
and my ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess kind of when you're talking about that and just like a lot of different things and thinking about or when you even pick that one, curious as to why I picked it. And I think some of it was even a little bit more like subconscious than now I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of part of the reason that I picked it out too was I mean, I think with the like and are part of the video itself is talking about how like there is that comfort in like repetition and ritual and that like ability to get better at that like one thing as you're doing it as well too.
Hmm.
And one of the games that kind of like late 25 early 26 which wound up being kind of like a comfort or even like a cozy game for me was it's such a dumb game but I put more time in it than most games, especially as of late, is Mega Bonk.
I don't know that one.
Okay. It's in the like kind of bullet uh heaven, kind of like a vampire
Okay.
survivors thing, but 3D and with some of the worst kind of like internet meme humor you could possibly imagine, paired with it.
Okay.
And but the 3D-ness of it does give the player a lot of I mean, it's still one of those games where I think knowing the builds, knowing how the items interact with each other and scale is going to be one of your ultimate kind of determiners of success. But there also feels like your ability to like jump on stuff or slide away from things that you don't really see a ton of in like the some of the other ones. That it's
Yeah, it
just like
feels a lot more. That sounds a lot more expressive. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like really, and because of the physics of the game, some of the expression, I think most of the humor comes from things that wind up like happening within the game itself, and not what's written. Because again, it's very just like internet meme humor stuff. But I don't know, it was kind of my comfort game for a minute. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe check it out, or once you see it, be like, yep, I don't want to play that. I wouldn't blame you. That is that. If you are good with it, let's roll the dice one more
Okay.
time, and then we'll kind of get to some of the just like the basic wrap-up questions.
Okay.
Um, we'll go from there. Okay. I didn't actually read them aloud last time, So my apologies on that. But we
I,
have,
I read them out loud last time. That's fine.
you did. You did. Would you like to do that again
Teamwork.
or do?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We can be a team here.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
put them in and then here.
G O okay.
No, that was
G
from
and
the
O.
old one. This
G
is this is a
O
timely, I guess. You just
D
mentioned killing God
D D E M or W.
or
Um,
W.
see how can I get make the most words? Is the thing. I'm gonna do were W-E crossing with the E-R.
Hmm.
So I also make I'd.
That's really good. I mean, I was like just about to comment on how like impressive I think just the words in general having id and pie and bad, they just work well together. And now we have were and I'd added to the table. Okay, so let's look at there's a lot of letters. I mean, this could be a combo breaker too, but I'll just count some things really quickly and I'll give you a number.
I have no idea how this works still.
Uh,
Uh,
again, it's just madness. That's how it works. Okay, I guess this is a great place to stop because you picked the dumbest image, or you didn't pick. You created the number of letters and things that wound us to my worst image, which is the one for expanding board games.
okay. Yeah, I don't get much choice here, I don't think.
I will give you a choice. Give me a number 1 through 4.
Oh, but which way are they numbered? Are they going like
Um,
one, two, three, four horizontally or
we'll do
upper right corner? Give me upper right corner.
upper right corner. Okay, that would be okay. So that one is the one that I have some of the least writing with, so I have to explain myself a little bit. So the first section of this is for the video expansions, and the image that I provided was 4 cover images of the catapult expansion of Carcassonne. So that's what
Hmm.
that's what your choices were. And the first section of that um, video was titled "Life of a Game."
Hmm.
And so this question is, and it's, I think it kind of will bookend the conversation really well before the wrap-up questions too. Ties, I think, pretty well to, what your video essays are doing in their explorations of different texts. But I mean, I have game, but what's like a game or a text that either through expansions, through second editions, or through, if it's maybe not in the board game space, in the video game space, of maybe like an initial release, kind of like bombing, and then having it like resurrected. I guess what's like a game or a text that you think has a particularly unique life story to it? And it could be one of the ones that you've covered in any capacity and you want to talk about or something you're looking at. But
Well, so it is going to be something that I mentioned in that video, and that is
yeah.
backgammon.
Hmm.
Because backgammon evolved from the table games, which are ancient, are super old, um, and arises like in the 1700s, and is kind of a pretty stodgy game because there's a high degree of randomness, and then the concept of doubling is introduced in the 1920s, and the doubling cube in 1930, where your ability to read the game state uh, puts a lot more skill into the game and like reinvigorates this game that is hundreds of years old. It dates back to games that are thousands of years old and makes it compelling. And there was this surge of interest in backgammon, but it's largely at that time uh, mostly like upper class players, like people who are going to clubs and whatnot, and doesn't really become a more a game that's more attractive to more people until the 70s, when this guy who just really loved backgammon and wanted to promote it started holding tournaments and like funding tournaments and funding backgammon clubs. And he was some kind of Russian nobility in exile or something. And like backgammon had this resurgence, and there were books about backgammon, and it was like a part of the night scene. Like nightclubs would have backgammon sets and whatnot. And then it kind of fell by the wayside again. And then when with online backgammon, it started back up again. And so it's had this life that gets extended for a few years, because popular for a few years and then fades. And then something happens and it is brought back to life again. And I think that's such a lovely, interesting story of the way that we don't really think of a lot of things today of having that kind of ability to reemerge. I don't think Monopoly's ever going to have like a reemergence. It has its place where it is. It certainly sells a lot of copies, but I don't think it's suddenly going to become everyone's favorite thing again, right? Uh, Most old movies don't get that kind of. They get a reevaluation, but they don't get that kind of resurgence. Books don't get that kind of resurgence, and I think that's because those art forms age themselves in some ways that make them less attractive to general audiences. And board games can do that too. Like a lot of I really enjoyed the board game Topple that Renee Soriano made. If it gets republished, it's not going to be a big hit or anything. It wasn't a hit the first time. But because backgammon is an ancient game, because it's a folk game, I think it has more capacity for that, in the same way that, I mean, chess is always popular, but chess became even more popular with online chess, right? So, and I think it's also reflective of the way the culture matters and people matter. Because you want to you don't get caught up in like great men of history theory, where someone, oh, this is the person that did this, like, fuck that. But sometimes someone's passion or enthusiasm or ideas do make a big difference. And so backgammon's a game that is, I think, starting to wane again, but is a game that is very tied to culture and people and history, and shows the way in which games are always that. And something that I try to put forth in all of my video work is that these games don't exist in a vacuum. They weren't made in a vacuum. They're not enjoyed in a vacuum. So I think that story of the life of backgammon is particularly fascinating. And I wish I'd be able to talk more about it in that video, but because the focus was on what it was, I couldn't talk about this Russian guy and, backgammon tables at the Playboy Mansion and all this sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a ton about backgammon, but that's yeah, I didn't know any of that stuff. When you're talking, the only thing that I was thinking is I think, I mean, I've been seeing it obviously in your video. I feel like just on social media, I've seen like a handful of designers kind of like talking about playing it more recently, which is obviously not like a huge resurgence necessarily. And I think you mentioned just due to its like cultural artifactness. I think it was like a pretty integral or symbolic part of the TV series Lost, if I
Okay.
recall
I
in
haven't
some
seen
capacity.
Lost, so I don't.
I've I've probably seen most of Lost, but yeah, I think it was like kind of part of that. I think it was pretty straightforward, kind of like, like darkness, lightness, symbolism, like good versus evil, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a part of that. So, if I'm not mistaken, but no, I don't know. I'm interested to dive a little bit deeper into backgammon. That's really cool. Well, perfect. So I mean, throughout the course of the kind of the pre-game talk and then the various questions that I asked you, I did make you drum up a whole bunch of different like texts and games and things that you've been doing or thinking about. So it might be a touch redundant, but my penultimate question is always kind of like a text that's on your mind. If you want to draw on one of the things that you did mention already, what's kind of something that you've been like watching or playing or reading or listening to that has really stuck out to you?
So I've been watching a lot of silent films. I've always loved silent films for since I was real young. And always been fascinated by them and thrilled by them. But the holiday game I'm making for this year is about a goose that is a silent film star. So I'm doing a bunch of silent film parodies. And so for grist for that mill, I've been revisiting and watching a lot of new silent films that I haven't seen before. And one that I really enjoyed is the Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney's a star. I forgot the name of the director. I, I'm a bad tourist. Is called He Who Gets Slapped, where he plays a physicist. No, he plays a scientist who discovers like the origin of human evolution, and it's stolen by his rich patron, who also steals his wife. So he becomes a clown whose thing is getting slapped in the face. And it sounds like goofy, but it's actually like it's like a really kind of serious psychological melodrama. And I think there are a number of like really exquisite cinematic touches, like ways things are expressed in a very efficient way, in a very stylish and expressive way. And it's good. It's a banger. It's an absolute banger. It's a good film that is, I want to say, 70 minutes long, which is a beautiful thing about a lot of silent films. Is okay, this is 70 minutes. This is 20 minutes. You know, I saw Mighty Like a Moose. I love Mighty Like a Moose. It's great. Um, which is about it's a Charlie Chase film, and he has this ridiculous teeth, and his wife has this ridiculous nose. So they both go into a plastic surgeon, and they don't recognize each other when they come out, and decide to try to cheat on each other with each other, and then it's a really charming farce, right? And it is 20 or 25 minutes, and beautiful film, beautiful film. So I've been watching a lot of I get to a lot of older stuff, you know, newer stuff and older stuff. I'm looking forward to some films coming out this year. Let me tell you, but that's what I've been watching lately, engaging with lately. I don't know if that's a useful answer, but
That that was the question. Is like what do and I think it ties. I mean, well, definitely ties. You mentioned that it's going to be linked to your holiday game as well then too. But I that's awesome. I can't really say that I have any knowledge whatsoever when it comes to silent films, but maybe I'll start with those two. Like you said, 90 minutes, hour and a half, I could knock two of them out. So
mm-hmm.
perfect. Uh, Good segue here. You talked about other things that you were looking out for. So my final question, in our chat, there was a little bit. I mean, obviously you had some pause when it came to talking about Swords Against, just from the potential spoiler aspect of it. This year, you also designed and released Railroads. If anybody goes to the Hollandspiele website, there's a ton of games that they can look at and buy. But obviously, most recent being Swords Against. You also discussed your research for your next video as well. But
Mm-hmm.
any other things that you want to, maybe direct people to look out for from you, things that you've been working on, anything like that?
I have a game I'm working on. I'm waiting on like half the art to get done. It's the most expensive game as far as art I've ever done, and I'm really pretty certain that it's not going to be a huge hit or anything. I like it to be, but I'm making a board game which is an adaptation of the Anthony Trollope novel, The Eustace Diamonds, which is like the least of the six Palliser novels he wrote. But I just love those books, and I had some mechanical ideas I wanted to try out. Because usually when I have like a very ambitious project, I like to do a smaller project that tests some of the more unusual ideas to make sure those ideas are sound before I put in all the effort to build a huge game around it. So, for example, I had the idea for the game that became Oblique very early, a few years back, but I did the game Siege of Mantua just to make sure that that core thing of the core movement system worked. So then I could improve on that and also make sure it worked when I did Oblique. And similarly, for a game I'm working on, I want to do something that was a little bit of a lighter approach to some of the mechanics to try it out. And that is this game based on the Eustace Diamonds, which I'm spending so much money on the art. There's so many characters. I don't usually do that. It's an indulgence for myself. And I hope it finds an audience. You know, the last time I did an adaptation of fiction was the game Belinda's Big Bonus, and no one bought that. It was a huge flop. I mean, I made money, but it was not well received, unfortunately, and hopefully, someone will be received a little better, a lot better. But that's what I'm working on, and that hopefully will be out sometime this year, as provided I get the art in time. Um, I'm having fun with it. You know, the beautiful thing about my model is that even the flops make money, and I live in Detroit, so I don't need that much money, right? So I can experiment. I can do things that are just for me, and hope enough people show up.
That's that's really great. Yeah, I mean, I yeah, when you're just saying that too, just talking about some of the things that you're doing with your model and your games and games that you were designing or publishing for other people, and yeah, just like so much unique and interesting things going on. I like I know you talked about it in some capacity in some venue, but I had kind of some line of questioning just on, and I mentioned railroads, and I know that kind of, and then also for battle, furious, bloody, repulsive, crimson, gory, boisterous, manly, rough, fierce, unmerciful, and hostile. Um, and that one could tie into expansions well too, because of the way that it collected all the previous work, republished it, and then is allowing for future expansions as well. There's like
Hmm.
a lot of really, yeah, I don't know, a lot of like venues that are being explored in the games and the videos, which
Thank
might
you.
be parallel, and I hope people, well, yeah, just yeah, go check out the games. But again, if you're listening to this episode, it's not because of me, because of you. So thank you so much for your time, Amabel, and and for being subjected to my nonsense.
Thank you.
Intertextual Experience, the most video essay podcast about board games and any other text that they connect to. Thank you so much for spending your time here. Your support through listening to this podcast means everything to the show's success. If you enjoyed the project, consider giving us a rating or review and sharing it with any other people in your life you would feel would like it as well. Any further support, such as sending an email to say hey, following some of the show's social media accounts, or contributing any monetary support to help pay for some necessary subscriptions would be greatly appreciated. All of that information can be found in the show notes. Until next time, keep playing, watching, reading, listening, experiencing.
Um, gosh, Uh, I hope you'll cut this dead air.
Oh yeah. No, I'll cut it, I'll copy it, and then I'll repaste it like 8 times.
Okay. Oh, good, good. Uh, that's the kind of joke I like. Just use it for an audio medium, maybe. Gosh.